Yo, what's going on, everybody? AA Ron here.
Raider Pete.
Welcome back to PanNerdia, and welcome back to our review of HBO's Watchmen. And we're on episode 4 tonight. If you don't like my story, write your own. So, yeah, man, another long-ass title. And we're going to jump right into it, because this kind of, for the most part, jumps right back to where we left off last time, just with a little extra spice added to set this episode, and that's with the old trillionaire Lady True. Spelled Triiu.
Yes.
So it starts off with just like a couple out in like some like fat ass like, farmhouse with a bunch of acres.
40 acres.
Living their life up, having a good old time, and but they're alone. They don't have like any kids or anything. Just them on this farm. And then their lovely time is interrupted by Lady True coming to offer them, we thought presumably to buy the land, but she does want the land. She just doesn't want to buy it. She just wants to give them something they don't have.
Well,
and that's a legacy.
Millions of dollars and a baby.
Yeah,
genetically engineered from DNA she collected of their own.
From
who knows, whatever ways.
She had the they went to some fertility
clinic. So she went straight there.
Straight there, and she's like, I'm a trillionaire.
Yeah.
But yeah, and she just threw that money in an account. She didn't really like use it to buy them, but so in her words at least. But either way, they took it. They're a little hesitant, but I guess it kind of set up the whole like who this chick is,
and it also revealed the location of the
Millennium Clock
build, I guess.
Yeah, which is in Tulsa as well, not too far away, and that's why she wanted the land. But we learned then that's who the one who's messing with that Millennium Clock, and it was shown to us earlier in the season. We only got a little snidbit of it. Actually, it was the last episode, the Lori Blake one, and we may have heard of it before that. But either way, we're kind of getting the lowdown on it now, and we will visit that later in the episode. But and then it goes on to one of those nice creative transitions that the show has, to Sister Night kind of straightening up her shop, kind of getting rid of evidence that Will was there, because the search for Chief Judd's killer is still out, and nobody knows that Will was involved yet, besides her, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess her husband too. She must have told him.
Yeah, that's true.
That we found out tonight, at least. I didn't know that otherwise.
He was interrogated by Blake, and then later on said, I lied, but this is what I do know. Mm-hmm.
So, interestingly enough, he does. So she ends up, getting that note from Will after she's cleaning up, and, even destroys his wheelchair and everything. And she gets ready to burn that note, but she accidentally ends up burning it anyway, because the Culture Center calls with an important message.
Yeah, apparently she's got even more relatives. Apparently, if they found her great-grandparents or whatever, and whatever else, and she was so shocked by that she lost her concentration, and that memory, that piece of history she had in her hands was
definitely a piece of history. Burned. It sucks, because, Will's father, who will learn his name soon, wanted him to keep that safe, boy. So she, of course, decides to, take things in her own hands then, and go check out what the Culture Center has to tell her. But she kind of does it an interesting way. She fakes a break-in, calls dispatch, fools them.
There's a window broken. Okay. And then she breaks it herself. I got it taken care of.
I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's totally in Sister Night fashion. I mean, she's a total badass. She says some awesome shit this episode, too, that just fucking makes me laugh out loud.
How cool is it to see your great-grandparents for the first time in 3D? That's what happened with her.
Oh, yeah. And I was going to say, when is our ancestor technology that we have now, is sending swabs in and all this shit, gonna end up eventually being something as crazy as this place? I mean, she goes up to the machine, to the Henry William Jr. guy, gets her special acorn, Westworld anybody, and totally goes to drop it in this fucking pot back here to sprout the family tree, which is really sweet. What? And yeah, so when is our technology going to end up doing something like that, right? So she delves deeper into her ancestry, and how she finds out about her parents, which I think she already probably knew eventually, but she finds out that, of course, Will was her grandfather. And let me see here real quick.
And she talked to the little boy version of him in the hologram.
Yeah. So her father was Marcus Abar. Then there was Will. Yeah, and then it showed her grandparents, great-grandparents, Will's father and mother, Obie and Ruth, and the one picture of
all of them
Will, all of them together. And apparently, even though Will, it's confirmed that that's her grandfather, he's presumed dead, that he died, during that Tulsa riot back then. And she's like, no, you're not. And she's talking to him, Pete had just mentioned, and it was an interesting scene for sure. Almost like she knew that some way he probably could hear that she, was doing that. But of course he's not dead, and she even says, well, wherever you are, why don't you just go ahead and leave me the fuck alone?
Right. Every time she discovers something super important about her own self, she has that reaction at the end.
Yeah, it almost seems like something's going to be touching, and then she just shuts it the F down, man, and it's great. When she's getting ready to leave, she starts hearing an alarm and a big crash, big boom going off, and she runs outside, and this is where we meet up with last week's episode.
Her car was returned, and apparently that moment, space junk that dropped, was the moment that she ran out of the cultural center. I didn't even realize the cultural center also, it makes sense that part of town,
Greenswood,
has right there on the sidewalk, the communication.
Manhattan Communicator.
Yeah, the Dr. Manhattan Communicator. So maybe it is the only one. It's it's part of their science center and history and culture.
Yeah, it's just it's kind of in that part. Yeah, I'm sure every major city area has one in there or something similar. But yeah, so she ends up meeting Blake again, but this time in her guise as Lady Knight. Totally turns off the beeping car, and she's like, "Oh, that's yours." She's like, "Yep." And he's like, "Well, it just fell from the effing sky." And she's like, what? Trying to play it cool. Well, of course, Lori Blake, being who she is, she kind of immediately, is just very suspicious of that fact, and they kind of move on. But then we end up getting, another thing too is when Angela notices in the car is Will's pills are still in there, still in the glove box. He forgot those after he got picked up.
Big red horse pills too.
Yeah, it's weird.
Was it
clear.
Matrix stuff? He picks the red pill over and over again.
Would. So she heads back home and ends up having to get into the bunk bed because the kids are sleeping with her husband, and she's kind of having a little powwow with Topher there, and it just kind of is setting up that because she kind of be real honest with this Topher kid. Topher being her adopted son of her ex-partner. And so she kind of be honest there and says that she's scared, essentially, right now. She doesn't know what that's going on. It's kind of weird to her right now. A lot of things are going on. She's learned she has family. She, her, friend who was the chief died, but also turns out that he has some skeletons in his closet. It's all, bizarre to her right now. Now she's got, Lori Blake coming in here stepping on her toes as well. So she's probably a little riled up, But in the morning... Angela goes ahead and heads out to go talk to Looking Glass to kind of see what he knows, and also to tell him some things that she knows.
But of course he lives in a bomb shelter.
Of course. Yeah, now we saw the inside of his house earlier this season when he was eating the TV dinner.
Yeah, we did. But now you saw the entrance. A big old rusty fucking
bunker entrance.
Bunker entrance, right?
It's like a fucking hatch door. Yeah. So he's got the little peephole. How can I help you?
I was thinking about just having a can of beans during this review.
Yeah, right. They're perfect. I made some great beans and chicken tonight. Canelli beans, that is. So anyway, she goes in the Looking Glass's sanctum. He's got some, pictures under the, getting exposed under the red light, and it's they're pictures of squids that he's, captured, ones that fell from the dimensional hole. Yeah. He apparently has some sympathy for him too.
It's they don't know they're going to fall through a vortex from another dimension, and just their lives are going to end in 30 seconds. I mean, their lives are
He's it's pathetic existence.
Yeah.
But besides the squid pics, Angela goes ahead and hands over the pills, asks him to check out what these are about. And of course, he starts asking some questions because he has a looking glass. And, she's like, well, enough about that. Here, how about this? And changes the subject real quick and gives him the
Klan uniform from Chief Judd.
Yep.
Or Chief Judd's closet, at least. And so basically, he told Angela, like, well, it's an heirloom because this is from like the 19 whatever.
His daddy
right.
was a cop, and
and she's like, well, was he involved? He goes, well, he was a white man in Oklahoma in 19 whatever.
Right. So it's already kind of fishy, but either way, he's like, you want me to keep these hidden for you?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah. He's like, from the FBI lady? He's like, yep. She's like, yep, from the FBI lady. Looking Glass is quite the character.
But so I guess at least it's confirmed that Chief Judd's father was also a chief of police.
Right. He was in the family.
Yeah.
So it could have deeper roots than we think, too.
Yeah, because when I was trying to get a good look at like the star that was on there, and I wasn't sure if that was just like a Klan thing or if it was like just an actual police.
But interestingly enough, Looking Glass immediately was kind of help answer that question for you. He's like, oh, his daddy this is his daddy's badge, So,
there you
go. But so he could be right, or, it could be an heirloom, but it's kind of a interesting heirloom to put on a trophy in a hidden
why not keep just the star instead of the whole get up?
Right.
Strange.
But from one silver boy to the next, she walks outside and sees some interesting, slick, slimy silver boy. Vigilante dressed
from far away. It looked like R2-D2. Yeah, but he
was totally like bleep blurb.
But yeah, he was like in a full body,
like silver gimp suit.
I was
with
waiting
swimmer
him to
goggles.
say, "My name is Dieter. I am with Sprockets." But he had like goggles that were like those shade goggles for swimming.
And just his nipples were cut out, so you can just see his. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I was gonna say, what? How did I not catch that?
No, they
But his utility belt was very unique. The one that he had to ditch because it had 2 squirt bottles like ketchup and a mustard,
clear.
but clear, translucent, so you can see there's also clear fluid in there. It's just like a whole bunch of KY jelly,
a bunch of lube,
a bunch of lube, and he just soaks up this silver costume. And how does he get away after that long chase?
He runs and slips through a fucking drain, sewer drain, yeah,
a curbside sewer drain.
Just
he just turns his head to the side and just luges like feet first. Makes everything as flat as can be and just slips down like a turd.
And she's like, what? And when she saw him, she's like, what the fuck? And then too, she's like, what the fuck? So that was weird. So she's obviously got questions about that dude. She goes back to the precinct, ends up running into the senator there. But as she talks about it, she starts asking, the Red Scare or Red Riot was his name?
Red Riot.
Red Scare. He asked the Red Scare.
Yeah, it's Red Scare.
About it, if they know anybody. And he's like, nobody knows about Lou Man. Anyway, they have a new boss, too. And, she ends up stumbling upon her. And it is none other than Lori Blake.
She's sitting over in the boss's office, and she's got access to everything. She is in charge of this investigation.
And, man, does she really know everything? I mean, she's always on top of shit. Almost like... eerily, she's on that shit. Played by Jean Smart. Blake, talks about how they know it's Will.
Yeah.
He was in the wheelchair. Remember, she mentioned the wheelchair last episode on the tracks by the tree. And that she knows that he was a cop back in New York. Yes. So, and then while she's in there, she gets more leads from Petey, the, Zorro of the sheets, and Lori describes it as a thermodynamic miracle.
It's a science way of saying it's all connected, baby.
Right. That was perfect. That should have been the name of the episode. Thermodynamic miracle, right?
Yeah, it should have.
I'm better than the fucking long ass one. Of course, Lori and Angela are kind of. They're button heads, but in a playful way. I think they do respect each other to a degree,
Yeah.
Not only with the information each other knows, but how they act, and they kind of stand up for what they believe in.
She finally said, I used to dress up and fight crime just like you.
Yep, as they were driving towards the Millennium Clock, they started discussing, and Petey chimes in, being the Midoriya he is,
Fanboy extraordinaire.
Yeah, young Petey. And he goes ahead and lays it out that, the comedian was her dad. Silk Spectre 1, of course, was the mom. The comedian raped her. That was her trauma. That's why she wore the mask. Because according to Lori, heroes become heroes. They use justice, the fight against the injustice that was the pain of their traumatized life. So she kind of hit it on the head. And she kind of just goes along with it and keeps rolling. But, no secrets in her car, apparently. But they end up approaching the Millennium Clock, and the way True's daughter, Beon, describes it, it's actually the first wonder of the New World, according to them.
Yeah.
As Lori
They're
thought it
planning
was
on
eighth.
making their 8 of their own, and here's number 1.
I mean, they say it's in the belly of the beast, essentially. It's like, the least...
the center of the
likely,
superpower.
the least likely to get hit by nukes. It's...
any natural or man-made disasters,
right.
It's the least likely place to be affected by it unless it's direct, like nuclear strike onto it. So this time clock tower is definitely functioning in many other
right. She says it keeps the
super
time.
duper spaceship ways. I'm thinking maybe.
And this trillionaire is so rich.
Yes.
She even has an atrium of a Vietnam jungle
Yep.
in her Millennium Clock there. But she ends up, as they're talking and kind of discussing, and Lori's kind of asking about, their vehicles. They have these like giant drone-like vehicles that, maybe they could have dropped the car, and it's part of her investigation. So they're trying to get in questions about Angela's vehicle. And as they're sitting there and kind of playing coy,
start speaking to each other in Vietnamese.
Vietnamese, yeah. So True and Sister Knight start talking to each other in Vietnamese, saying like, "Oh, we know these old sayings," and it literally isn't what you think it is. It's she asking, "Your grandfather wants to know where the pills is," and Angela says, "Well, I have one too." Speaks Vietnamese and says,
"He can come to me if he wants to fucking know."
No, she has tell that old fucker he can come talk to me if he wants to.
Yeah.
So, essentially. That's when you learn that True, because Lori sees a statue of Ozymandias. We then learn that True
a
actually
very
bought
up to date one because it's like of his exact current age that we're looking at right now.
Maybe just what he looked like 4 years ago. We'll find out in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently True really looks up to him, and she actually bought his company, Adrian Veidt's company, after the fact that he disappeared. And she's definitely using what his technologies have rendered and what her power and then her past with the pharmaceuticals and everything towards something great, perhaps. I don't know. The first wonder of the new world, so she says. But then we, of course, with that glorious statue, transfer over to the wonderful world of Ozymandias as he is fishing for what, Pete?
Oh, looks like fetuses.
And we're not talking Death Stranding here. We're talking just fishing for some fetuses in a pond.
Basically, this pond of his is like his bio
soup.
Bio soup, yeah.
That he plucks out new clones from, takes them to his, and he's got to find the right one. He threw a couple back. Yeah. He's like, no, this one won't work.
They're a bunch of girls and boys, and they're all versions of Mr.
Phillips and Miss
Cocklehops or
Crookshanks.
Crookshanks, yes.
Yes. So he essentially takes him to the super incubator. And all you got to do is listen to one song and it's done. One reggae song, eat a piece of leftover cake, and ding, they're fully grown, not quite coherent humans.
Totally saw it telegraphed, but it was still shocking when you finally had the camera pan over and there they are.
They're in there spinning like in a microwave.
Yeah, because once the babies were set in there and the neck braces were larger than adult size, you're like, yep, here we go.
So that was interesting. So now we know how he gets him to this size. Maybe we figured he just kind of went somewhere, maybe asked the game warden for some new ones. But no, he has to go get them himself. And apparently that's how he's gotten all the ones, all the 50 to 100 clones he has running around his place. But he must have did something, got a little angry, or
when he
went
put on that
hunting.
little costume, he got a little overzealous.
Because he brought his new friends to the dining hall to discover, a good 3 dozen clones murdered horrifically across the whole room, and
all kinds of ways. Most of them stabs, but or shot with arrows.
But perhaps it wasn't just out of anger, as I thought, kind of as the episode was going on. Perhaps he not only did it because he was angry, but because he needed multiple subjects to try out his new inventions, and to keep testing his catapult, which he brought the dead bodies to, because he's trying to escape, as he says. Escape what? Well, we see with his monocular, he launches one of the dead clones with the catapult, and as it goes into what seems to be the atmosphere, it disappears behind a blue wall, like just it gets sucked in. It's not like he keeps vanishing and vanishing and vanishing. It's further and further away into space. And oddly enough, a catapult would never go that far. It's a big catapult, but we come to find that maybe our theory last week is in fact true.
Indeed, it's your theory, and I totally think that you're right onto something. I mean, everything from the fact that it didn't go towards the tree line, it kept going straight up, and then when it went to the clouds, it just sort of like disappeared, as if the clouds were just an image, not actual clouds. And then
like just an edge of a bubble almost,
right?
An impenetrable one, or a penetrable one. And that's when he also says that he's been there 4 years. He's got to escape. Blam, blam, blam.
Mm-hmm.
And so we end with another Adrian Veidt scene. Very interesting, but we're learning more now. And we get back to Angela talking to her husband. Her husband then talks about how he was interrogated or questioned by Blake, and how he had to lie and doesn't like lying.
Yeah.
Their scenes with him are all right, but I'm not. He's definitely like the least on my list.
I still think he's a clone. Like somehow, like he's just there. Whether he's a clone that was made by, someone big time like Dr. himself, or Dr. Manhattan himself, or
and like put in their life
from the Trillionaire, Miss True. Like shoot, like we went in there and accidentally killed him. Quick, replace him.
Maybe, who knows, man?
Or Cal is just a strange cat.
The Cal is just strange. But another quick transition then. It was a short scene with those two. Back to Beyond, waking up, startled in her bed from a nightmare, going in to talk to her mom to comfort her, and her mom's pretty cold. And then we get what was really going on in True's room, which is True and Will talking about their plans, and True asking if Will is truly in on what they got going. Again, they're keeping it very vague right now, but he of course stands up then, which is a new revelation.
First he says, so you're concerned that Angela is going to feel a different way and I'm going to big sway, like,
right.
Goes, no, I am all in, and stands up and walks out the door, and it's like, well, maybe you did string up the chief after all.
Yeah, perhaps perhaps he was never in his wheelchair when he did that. But how did he kill him? Either way, he may have had help, but he definitely probably did it himself. Though he still is over 100 years old, so
that's true.
Regardless, that he can stand.
So I don't know if there's a connection anymore to Dr. Manhattan besides a few degrees of separation. But now that he's linked with Trillionaire True, maybe her plans are to do some of the predictions we talked about before we went on.
Oh yeah, who knows? Is the Millennium Clock like a big missile to blow up Mars, or is it a big spaceship?
Send everyone there? Yeah.
Send only important selected people there, or has it nothing to do with it at all? I mean, he even says 3 days until our plans. 3 days in that universe till our plan goes into action. Tick tock, tick tock. He ends the episode with that, but it's just very interesting ending. And I even told Pia, like, man, this show is fucking weird. Because we start finding out shit, we think we know what's going on, but then they open it up even wider to, like, what the hell's going on? Like, truly, is this all connected to Dr. Manhattan, or is it not at all?
And is it a jinx every time a character says tick-tock, tick-tock, the next episode they're goners?
Is it just one character trying to take, so to speak, prophecies that old characters made, Rorschach, Ozymandias, Dr. Manhattan, and take them in their own hands and in their own spirit to outlive it? but they're maybe, misconstruing it. Maybe it's not really what those old characters really wanted. Definitely not what Rorschach wanted, if that's what the 7th Cavalry's doing. But is the 7th Cavalry tied into all this bullshit? Who knows? It's all crazy and wacky right now on Watchmen, HBO's Watchmen, that is. And we have lots of questions. I'm sure you guys do too. But, hey, man, they're definitely not staying, far from tons of Easter eggs in this show, that's for sure.
Yeah.
They're still dumping those out, but they're still, kind of filling in those who aren't completely caught up with it either. With each episode, I think that's where they have characters like Petey and stuff and whatnot. But,
and dumping all that information in your face, whether you didn't catch it before or read up on it or not.
It's a lot, man.
There it is. There you have it.
But that's where we're here to help sift through everything and kind of lay it out for you guys. If you missed something or if you're just interested to discuss, so go ahead and throw your comments and discussions down at the bottom there. Give us a like. We'd appreciate it, and we'll see you guys next week on PanNerdia, PanNerdias. We'll see you guys next week on PanNerdia. AA Ron here.
Raider Pete.
And we're going to redo our ending one more time here, because I'm going to make sure I edit that out. If I don't, it'll be really funny. Alrighty, guys. We will see you next time here on PanNerdia. AA Ron.
Raider Pete.
Check you later.